All right. Hi, guys. I'm going to be doing my informative speech for you guys today. I have my sister and her fiance, Cody. My sister's name is Christine with me. I have my dad. I have my stepmom, Melissa. I have my boyfriend, Brian. And I have my friend, Carolyn. All right. So I'm going to be talking about the Holocaust and things you might not know. In an article NBC published in 2020 titled "Survey Finds Shocking Lack of Holocaust Knowledge Among Millennials and Gen Z," they found a worrying lack of basic Holocaust knowledge among adults under 40, including over 1 in 10 respondents who did not ever recall having heard the word Holocaust before. 11,000 people aged 18 to 39 were interviewed across all 50 states. While most of us learned about the Holocaust in school, there's too many events that have happened to be able to learn about all of them. However, historians have spent years learning and teaching about the events from the Holocaust. And it's very important to remember the events, how they occurred, why they occurred, and how to make sure that they never happen again. Never again is a nationally recognized slogan for remembering and continuing to teach the next generations about the Holocaust. And today I'm going to talk about a few of the lesser known events that happened during this tragic time in the world. The Holocaust was a systematic state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews by the Nazis and their collaborators between 1933 and 1945 across Europe, as defined by the United States Holocaust Museum website. You may have learned in school that Adolf Hitler wanted to rid Europe of the Jews. However, what you may not have learned is that Jews were not the only ones persecuted by the Nazis. Communists, socialists, Jehovah's Witnesses, homosexuals, Sinti and Roma people, also known as gypsies, were also largely victimized. However, Jews made up the majority of fatalities. But why Jews? After World War I, the Nazi Party and its leader, Adolf Hitler, blamed the Jews for Germany's defeat, according to the United States Holocaust Museum historians. Because of this thinking, the government pushed anti-Semitic propaganda, or advertising for Jewish hate. And I'm going to show you a photo here. Can everyone see that photo? Okay, so this would be an example of Nazi propaganda. It's a picture representing a Jew. However, it's not just one Jew, it's all Jews. And it would state things like the Jews are lazy, they are money hungry, they are power hungry, and they are the overall cause of why Germany had so many issues. However, in my opinion, the worst part about the Holocaust is what happened to the children. Children were the primary targets of the killing. Young children in particular were targeted by the Nazis to be murdered during the Holocaust. They posed a unique threat because if they lived, they would grow up to parent a whole new generation of Jews, wrote veterancardonations.org in an article they posted for the Holocaust Remembrance Day in 2020. In the eyes of the Nazis, Jewish babies were just as guilty of ruining the world. Most children under the age of 15 were selected to be put to death immediately upon arrival. Elie Wiesel wrote in his book, Night, and he wrote, "Hey kid, how old are you?" The man interrogating me was an inmate. I could not see his face, but his voice was weary and warm. 15? No, you're 18. But I'm not, I said, I'm 15. Fool, listen to what I say. He then asked my father, who answered, I'm 50. No, the man sounded angry, not 50, you're 40. Do you hear? 18 and 40. Elie wrote that this was one of the reasons he survived, because he lied about his age and his occupation in order not to be considered a child and sent directly to the crematorium. It is estimated that 1.5 million children were murdered during the Holocaust, more than 1.2 of those million being Jewish, and the other tens of thousands being gypsies and institutionalized handicapped children. Some other tragedies that happened include the Ville de Hive roundup in Paris. The Vallon de Hiver is a stadium in Paris and is often called the Ville de Hive. In 1942, a raid and mass arrest was carried out in Paris, France by French police. 13,152 Jewish men, women, and children were detained. The conditions were atrocious. There were no restrooms, there was no food, water, and they were held there for 5 days without working toilets. There were some that could not take the containment, and so they took their own lives, and many others died of exhaustion or heat. One woman who did escape, Sarah Lichtenstein Montard, told France.com in an article about remembering the roundup that there were already 5,000 people in there. It was dreadful. There was a horrible stench, and children were running around, but the parents in the stands were silent. The few toilets were quickly clogged, and I saw adults go to the bathroom everywhere. Another atrocity that happened was the slaughter at Babi Yar. On September 29th, Nazis forced much of Kiev's, in current-day Ukraine, most of Kiev's Jewish population to walk to Babi Yar, which was a ravine located just outside of the city. When they got there, they were ordered to undress and line up, and they were shot with machine gun fire standing up or lying down. The infants were taken from their parents and tossed directly into the ravine, according to Patrick Keeger in an article, What Happened at the 1941 Babi Yar Massacre, written for History.com. Bulldozers then covered the bodies with dirt. Why is that important? Because within the Holocaust as a whole, this is a metropolitan city in Europe who lost virtually all of its remaining Jewish inhabitants in a premeditated murder for the first time in history, and more Jews died in that than any other single German massacre. All of this sounds awful, but not everything was bad. There are good things that happen. There are hundreds of stories of good people who risked their own lives trying to help the Jews during this awful time. For example, Marie Benoit, a French priest, helped provide false papers for Jewish men and women and hid them from the Nazis in France and Italy. Irina Gut, a Nazi officer's housekeeper, hid 12 Jews in his basement of the house for more than 2 years. And when they were eventually found, she offered herself to become his mistress in order to save their lives. Irina Sendler was 29 years old and worked for the welfare department in Warsaw. And she used her job in order to help the people forced into the Warsaw Ghetto. She helped smuggle them out of the ghetto and helped set up hiding places for them outside. And there's many, many more heroic stories like these. Although the Holocaust happened over 70 years ago, it's still very important to remember and continue to teach about this historical event. Nobody believed it could happen to them. Nobody believed it could happen in countries like Germany and France. Most people did not believe it would happen until it was too late. Most people have learned that the Holocaust happened, but there are still deniers. They know it was a mass murder of Jews, but what about the Roma, Sinti, homosexuals, and the political prisoners of war? They've heard the term Nazis, but do not know what they did. Not too many people actually want to learn about the details because the specific details of the events that happened, they didn't want to know. There were gruesome details, but we must know. We must continue to learn no matter how hard it is. That's the only way that we are going to be able to stop it from happening again. Events like Babi Yar and the Wilde Hive Roundup and every single death camp must be told. It must be believed. Never again. I hope you learned something today that you might pass on so this knowledge does not become forgotten. Remember, never again. Thank you.